See, a small cost in energy. I just made up like 3 wheels with 400 meters to go. Now I'm really liking my position, right? I'm like 5th wheel, 6th wheel. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Got another Alviso for you. Let's talk about the teams who are in this race. We have Thirsty Bear. You guys know Thirsty Bear. Always super active team to look out for. SJBC, same story there. They usually have a good amount of riders out here. Alviso is in San Jose, after all. And then a couple of individual riders to look out for right off the top of my head. We have Super Dave, National Champion Stars and Stripes kit. He's legit, always a threat in this race. And then my former teammate, just like in the last Alviso video, he decided to roll out today. Matt on Tehrun Elite, always a big threat, especially in the sprint. Normal wind direction, you guys can see the blue arrows there in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's about it. But before we get into today's footage, I wanted to quickly thank the sponsor of this video, and that is KMC Chains. You guys may have heard of them. They have, well, what they're known for are their color options, but they also have really high-performance 12-speed chains, 11, 10, 9, 8, whatever you're looking for. They even have single-speed setups, so, you know, whether it's super exotic, lightweight, high performance, or more affordable setups, all of their chains have quick links, which at this point is a must-have. I wouldn't get a chain that doesn't have a quick link. You should go check them out. I'll leave a link in the description. And with that said, let's get into today's race. All right, just a couple laps into this race. It's been pretty fast. You can see we're catching this rider who's off the front right now. And it's all single file like this. So I just give it a rip. You're going to see me stand up here in a second. In the tailwind, we just caught a rider. The field was single file. So the timing's good for a breakaway here, but I just get chased down. Like, this doesn't work, and I normally wouldn't show this, but I just want to show you guys, like, it doesn't always work, right? You give it a shot. I'm still doing a pretty hard rip here, 32 miles an hour in the tailwind, flicking my elbow to see if they come through, but you can see the small gaps opening up, and that's kind of my point. Is like you just time it right. When the tailwind, it's hard. You can get up to a really high rate of speed. People are potentially tired from the single file riding, from the chase effort that happened before this, and it was a good opportunity to give it a shot to see if I can force a split. And now I'm playing games with the Thirsty Bear boys. I noticed that gap was opening up. Neither of them were represented, so just make him close that down. And then just a few moments later, we're going to see this perfectly timed attack by Super Dave on the right. Look at him just slingshotting past the front riders. So I'm going to talk about this because he executed this perfectly. I've talked about this on the channel a lot. He came from like 12th or 15th wheel. He was speeding up as the front riders were slowing down. And that's what you're looking for successful breakaways, that speed differential. The front riders are slowing down. He was speeding up. It was easy for him to get separation and to establish this little move. And look what it forces, you know, this chase effort. Like, this is a difficult chase effort by us. Meanwhile, Dave, I don't think he probably had to go over 600 watts. Like, he had to do this little surge in pace to get this gap, but it was really well timed. So if you guys are looking for a breakaway, just tear a page from the old Super Dave playbook right there. But it doesn't work. Dave gets brought back, and then now we have Matt in the pink jersey here trying his hand. And I just let this go. Like, I was in decent position to follow this, but I just let this go. And why would I do that, right? I've already identified Matt as being a really dangerous rider, and he is, like, especially in the sprint. But here's the deal. There's still 19 kilometers to go, and I kind of want to get Matt tired ahead of the sprint. So I'm perfectly fine letting this go. It's a long ways to go solo for Matt. Plus, think about the teams that I mentioned at the top of this video, right? We have San Jose. You can see them there. We have Thirsty Bear, and we have all these other riders who do not want to lose to a solo rider. So I'm not going to say it's a 0% chance that he makes it to the end, but it's a very low percentage chance. Meanwhile, he's just going to be up there by himself getting cooked in the wind and the heat, and he'll have less punch in the sprint. So I'm more than happy to sit back here in the field, save energy while others chase him back. And sure enough, he's brought back about 4 minutes later, so I'm going to get myself into position, be prepared for the potential counterattack. And you can see, just like I said, look who was chasing. That's Thirsty Bear, and that's San Jose. And that's 4 minutes that Matt was off the front getting tired, and Thirsty Bear and San Jose were on the front of the peloton chasing him getting tired. So this is great news for me. I was able to sit in. And yeah, just up here now, right in the top 5 riders, prepared for the potential counterattack. And sure enough, there it goes, right? This is pretty predictable in bike racing. Breakaway gets caught, counterattack goes. So that's Brian. Very threatening breakaway rider, Brian is. But solo, again, with 16 kilometers to go, I mean, what? It worked before? Let's just try the same strategy again. San Jose, missed it. Thirsty Bear missed it. I'm happy to let a solo rider go with still 16 kilometers to go because it's just very unlikely that's going to go all the way to the finish. So we get close to catching Brian. And when I say we, I mean a lot of these other people were chasing, Thirsty Bear and San Jose, and I was sitting back kind of saving energy. And then it starts to fall apart on the front. You see some riders trying to bridge across. So this is when it really has my attention, right? Because if, for example, a Thirsty Bear, there goes another rider. If a Thirsty Bear rider or a San Jose rider, or especially if a Thirsty Bear and a San Jose rider make it across to Brian, then the chase effort gets shut down and I lose the race. So I have to be very careful with who's up the road right now. I have to pay close attention. So that's why I've kind of moved up into position here, doing a little bit of power here just to make sure that I can see what's going on. I can see the composition of riders off the front. You think of people's motivations, right? As long as Thirsty Bear doesn't have a rider up there, they're going to continue chugging away like they are on the front right now. You can see both riders on the front right now, kind of chasing this back, a little bit desperately chasing this back. And that's the moment right here. Alarm bells are going off. You see I'm doing 1,200 watts. And that is because we have Blaine from Thirsty Bear solo bridging across. I cannot let this happen. I have to chase this back. And you can see I'm looking under my shoulder there as I jump across. And that's the reason I did 1,200 watts. I did a big snap in power, big acceleration, because I don't want to just tow the whole field. I want to get separation, get them out of my draft to make sure they're doing the same amount of work as me. And I eventually make it up to Blaine and the breakaway, but unfortunately so does everyone else, and the race kind of gets reset. So a couple laps later, and this funny thing happens I wanted to show you guys. So, this has been a pretty chill race for me. I've been able to sit in quite a bit, but that doesn't mean you can be complacent. You always have to be paying attention, especially in the later parts of the race when folks get tired. For example, here's a gap that just opens up to a very threatening group up the road, by the way. It's got all the teams represented, so I have to spend some energy here and close it down. It's something like this. If you're just mid-pack, not paying attention to the front of the race, something like this can just get away and stay away, ruining your chances at a race win. It's not a big effort here, but it was something that was necessary to nip this in the bud and to put me on the winning side of this split. And then once I get there, you can see Blaine just sitting up, letting this gap open up, and letting his teammate Jerome get away. Oh my God. A cheeky little tactic that forces me to the front yet again to burn some matches and to close this one down. And you guessed it, the moment I close it down, Blaine counters yet again. The old 1-2 attack by Thirsty Bear. Man, these guys are racing really well. So I desperately yell to see if I can force others to chase, because at this point, I'm wanting to keep it together for a field sprint, and I want to save as much energy as possible to unload all my power at 200 meters to go. And that's pretty much what I do. You can see from here until basically the last lap, you'll see me just anchoring myself onto the back of all these little moves, saving as much energy as possible while making sure it all stays together for a field sprint. So with 1,500 meters to go, my position is very deliberate here. You're going to see I'm going to be floating around like 8th wheel or so. If you're too close to the front, the riders in front of you are going to pull off, and you're going to be on the front way too soon. If you're too far back, then you're not going to be able to sprint for the win because there's just too many riders in front of you. So there's this sweet spot. And I want to stay in the draft as much as possible, particularly in sections like this with a headwind. You can see we're up to 26 miles an hour, 27 miles an hour, still doing 500 watts even though I'm in the draft. It's particularly important that you're holding a draft through these difficult sections of the course. And especially with 1K to go, okay, this is the moment where you're going to see these riders who don't want there to be a field sprint make some last-minute desperate attacks. You see two riders off the front right now doing just that. I'm still thinking very deliberately about my position. You see, I let that wheel go. I'm going to slot in. This is about 6th wheel now. And I want to time it right, so as I'm hitting the front with about 200 meters to go, I am 1st or 2nd wheel. That's the ideal situation. I don't want to go out in the wind a moment too soon, so I'm going to shuffle around just to make sure I'm in that ideal position. And now we're up to 30 miles an hour with 600 meters to go, still sheltered. It's so important, you guys, to get this timing right. And this is about as far back as I want to be. I'm starting to think I need to move up a couple of wheels here, and this is when it happens, guys. Boom, God line. On the inside of that cone, on the inside again. See, a small cost in energy. I just made up like 3 wheels with 400 meters to go. Now I'm really liking my position, right? I'm like 5th wheel, 6th wheel. You're going to see I'm going to get brought right up to speed. Now we're going 33 miles an hour, still sheltered. This is almost like a lead out, right? These two guys are going to bring me up to speed, 36 miles an hour now. And it's not until 200 meters to go do I finally put my front wheel out in the wind. I slingshot past a fading lead out. Still have a little bit of work to do to catch Dave here, but I stayed sheltered. I was patient until 200 meters to go, so I have all of this energy left over to uncork a decent sprint here. Get up to 41 miles an hour, checking under my shoulder, and that secures another Alviso win. Woo! Thanks for hanging in there, guys. That was a fun one. And if you like this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, do all that cool stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.